solving an absolute value inequality problem type 4. So you notice I have some stuff written here already. If you haven't seen my videos for problem types 1, 2, and 3, you might want to take a look at that, or you might be a little confused. The brief recap I can give you is if you have an absolute value, and this really is important, it has to have these up and down absolute value lines to be treated special. If you don't have these up and down lines, you're not looking at an absolute value inequality. But if you have an absolute value and it's greater than a positive number, or greater than or equal to, either way, it splits into two different inequalities separated by an or. So it's x greater than 5 or x less than negative 5 in this particular case. It's the same exact thing with the underline, you just put an underline underneath it. If you have a less than sign, so an absolute value is less than a number, that's when you sandwich that number between this number negative, so negative 5, and the number positive. And regardless of what you have in the center here, you do the same thing. So if there's more than an x, you're still going to sandwich whatever is in the middle right in there. So let's kind of take this idea and go a little bit further with it, further than problem type 3 took it. So this problem on ALEKS is only going to ask you to do the number line portion. However, on the exams, we're going to ask you to do the interval notation and the number line solution. So I'm going to show you both so that you're prepared. Here we have a less than sign. Because there's a less than sign and the absolute value is by itself, so we're good to make decisions here. It's just the absolute value on the left, positive number on the right, less than sign. This is going to be a sandwich. And the way I remember it is one inequality is less than two inequalities. So less than is a sandwich, which is 1. And if it's a greater than, it splits into two inequalities. So 2 is greater than 1. Regardless, I take that 8, I'm going to make him negative, less than or equal, and I'm doing that because there is an underline here. I'm taking everything inside here. So the 2u minus 12, that whole thing, I'm coming in here with that. And then less than or equal to positive 8. My goal is to get this u by itself. This is essentially like a 3-piece inequality. And just like with a 2-piece inequality or a two-part equation, if you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other. Since there are 3 sides here, anything we do to this middle portion, we do to both of these portions out here. So just like solving a linear equation, I'm going to add the 12 here to get rid of it next to the u. Ooh, that's a bad line. There we go. So negative 8 plus 12 is 4, less than or equal to 2u, less than or equal to 20. Now to get the u by itself, I need to divide by 2. But if I do it on the middle portion, I have to do it on every portion. So we have 2 is less than or equal to u is less than or equal to 10. So there's my inequality. On the number line, 2, 10. If you have underlines, then on the number line, remember that's going to translate to closed circles, and in interval notation, it'll translate to brackets. If there's no underline, then on the number line you get open circles, and in interval notation you'll get parentheses. If you have the sandwich, I call it a sandwich, if you have the sandwich here, you are shading the inside portion. And what's kind of cool is even without drawing the number line, you can really easily get the interval out of this. There's an underline and an underline, and that's because this original had an underline, which means you're using brackets, and then it's just 2 and 10. So our interval is actually going to be 2, 10, and it comes out really nice and easy. So you could do that before even looking at the number line. Here I'm doing closed circles because I have underlines, and then I am shading the inside portion. So with these sandwiches, notice that u is in the middle, so you're shading the middle. And that's that. Here's my number line answer, here's my interval notation answer, and here's my answer with just the inequality. On the test, we're looking for this and this right here. So let's go ahead and try another. So we have 18 minus 6u is greater than 6. We have the absolute value all by itself, so there's only an absolute value here, and there's a greater than sign. With a greater than sign, we do need to split this up. So we have 18 minus 6u is greater than 6. It's the same thing as the original minus the absolute values. Or leave the inside alone, so 18 minus 6u, that part should just stay the way it is, but flip the direction on the inequality and make this positive number negative. So we have 18 minus 6u is greater than 6, or 18 minus 6u is less than negative 6. And then we're going to solve each of these inequalities the way that we've solved inequalities before. So minus 18 on each side here. We have negative 6u is greater than negative 12. If I divide both sides by negative 6, we are dividing by a negative, which is going to flip the direction of our inequality. So it was pointing to the right, it's pointing to the left now. And then negative 12 divided by negative 6 is 2. So u less than 2. Similar math over here. Subtract 18 on both sides. Right. Negative 6u is less than negative 24. To get the u by itself, I'm dividing both sides by negative 6. I'm flipping the direction of my inequality because I divided by a negative. Negative 24 divided by negative 6 is 4. So we have u less than 2, or u is greater than 4. So putting 2 in here, putting 4 in here. There's no underlines on my inequality, so I'm doing open circles. And when you have two inequalities, so when you do the split, that means that you get tails. You get the tail ends of the inequality up here. So this is my number line answer. This is the one that Alex is actually going to be asking for on this particular topic. But I'm going to give you the interval notation answer as well. It goes from negative infinity to 2. 2 gets a parenthesis because he's an open circle. Union 4 to positive infinity. And that's my interval notation answer. Let's do one last example for this topic. Once again, my absolute values are by themselves. It's a less than sign. So remember, one inequality is less than two inequalities. So less than means one inequality, so a sandwich. We take that positive 18 and we make it negative. There's no underline on my inequality, so I'm just going to leave it in the same direction, no underline, and then take this entire inside part and put it in the middle. And then less than positive 18. I'm now going to be solving for x, and we have to do anything we do to one part, we do to all the parts. And we're going to have to be a little careful here because we're going to end up dividing by a negative. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract that 12 off to cancel here. Here we have negative 30 is less than negative 6x is less than 6. To get the x by itself, we do need to divide by negative 6. And something weird is going to happen. So when you divide by a negative, you have to flip the direction on both of these. Negative 30 divided by negative 6 is positive 5. Here we just have x because these cancel. And here we have negative 1. This is not the intuitive way to write an inequality. We don't really like these compound inequalities. This is called a compound inequality. We don't like it when they're pointing to the right. We would much rather they point to the left. The way we fix that, if you want it to face the other way, take this negative 1, put them over here, and flip the direction on these guys. Make sure, so I'm going to put the 5 here. Make sure you flip the direction, and the way you know you've kept the meaning okay is if it pointed towards the negative 1 originally, it should point towards the negative 1 here. If 5 had the big end towards it, then 5 should have the big end towards it. So here is my inequality, and it is a sandwich, which means I am shading the inside part. So negative 1, positive 5, open circles because there's no underline, and then shading that inside part there. So that's that number line answer you're going to be looking for on this particular topic. The interval answer, which we will be looking for on the exam, is just negative 1 to 5. And that's that for this topic. So there's only one more of these inequality topics left, problem type 5. Hopefully they're going okay. If not, you have an instructor there to help you, or if you're doing these at home, You can always email your instructor. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in another video.